You're in the field house with the Adam Clack Academy.
It's all about the ball. Yeah. Tonight, we find a way.
And they knocked
A-plus content.
County
Authentic stories.
to be the 7-8
Actionable takeaways.
We're going to attack them like they've never been attacked.
This is the Field House Podcast. Coaches, welcome back to another episode of the Field House Podcast. I'm Coach Tad. With me as usual, Caoch Mash. Coach Mash, man, how you doing today?
Good, Tad. We are 2 weeks away from the start of the high school football season. So
It's about time. It's about damn time, is it?
It's been the longest off season of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a long off season because you guys have been, I mean, we've been talking about it, but I mean, the amount of work and building that you guys are doing, this is probably, I would say, abnormally harder than it usually is in off season.
For sure. I mean, I think anytime, when with a program with a new staff, particularly a new head coach, there's a lot of work to do that doesn't have anything to do with football.
Mm-hmm.
Building the infrastructure of the program and getting the strong pillars in place to build on top of in the future. I mean, you got to start there.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it's slow going.
Yeah.
You want to hit the gas and go as fast as possible, but you got to get it right.
So I want to, we've talked a lot about, I don't know if we have specifically dived into your role, but I want to ask you about, your role specifically within Parkview High School. So what is your official title and what role do you play on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, title-wise, I'm an assistant linebackers coach, and then I also coach our defense on JV. And in execution, that looks like jack of all trades. One thing about me is, and this goes back to a book I read several years ago. You probably heard of it. It's called Extreme Ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea is that if you make a conscious decision to do something, then it's important enough for you to own that thing. And so, what I found up at Parkview is, regardless of what your title is, regardless of what your role is, your list of duties and responsibilities, the only way to make a program successful and to build a successful program is by owning it. And every single person on staff, the players, the families, the community, the board, all that needs to have that ownership. And so when you ask me kind of what's your job, it's whatever needs to be done that day, because, I take that ownership very seriously.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And we've talked about that, right? Because buy-in, right, equals weigh-in, or you need to have weigh in order to get that buy-in. And I think from a weigh-in standpoint, not only do you need to be heard, but I think you also have to feel like that your role serves a bigger purpose.
Well, here's a good example of that ownership. And this is something just so small and so simple and seemingly meaningless. But I think it's really demonstrative of what that means. And I try and talk to our kids about this, particularly the linebackers, because I'm with them the most. This program is yours. This facility is yours. It's here for you, but you are stewarding the program. And so something really simple, just watch around, watch how people walk around the field after practice. Does someone see a bottle cap on the field and reach down and pick it up, put it in the trash can, or they look and they see it and then they walk away? Right. And so to me, that's just a very small example of that ownership. And it tells me so much. Again, that's just a very discrete example, but that's kind of the mindset that I want, that everything around us is ours and it's our responsibility to steward this. And so we have to take care of it and we have to do the best we can.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great example. And so do you feel like, are your guys at Parkview, are they the type of guys that are going to pick up a bottle cap, or are they the type of guys that are going to walk around and just leave it?
No, they are. They absolutely are. I mean, I think, the buy-in on that side is really, really strong, because I think they see things are being done differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can almost kind of see light bulbs going off as this is different now. So I have to act.
So tell me, how are the guys responding? Obviously, there's been a lot of new systems installed, new coaches, new roles, obviously a new head coach with Adam Clack. How are the guys responding? How are they doing?
A lot better than I would have anticipated. And that, speaks nothing of the players and who they are, but just I know teenage kids and how they react to change and that sort of thing. So, I knew it was going to be a challenge. It turns out they were ready. I mean, they were really ready to step in and to step up into a role as program leaders, each and every one of them. And, I'll tell you, just coming off of our summer practice schedule, we we can have very complex schedules, and for a very, very good reason, right? If we go back to some of the chats we had with Coach Clack talking about the two position system, that kind of thing. So doing that it's a lot of complexity. It's not just throw a ball out, throw 22 guys out and say go, right? There's a lot of
Hmm.
complexity in there. And I've been just incredibly impressed with our players' ability to handle that complexity and to move forward with it, to not let that
Hmm.
become an obstacle to them. And what that does for then us as a program, if we can handle the really, really complex stuff, imagine what we can do with the really simple stuff.
Hmm.
Right. And so that's been a welcome surprise that the guys they showed up ready to do different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I'm around there, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy in the field house, a lot of energy on the field. And I think the guys are really, they're excited for what the coaching staff has brought. They're excited to take all the stuff they're learning and put it on the field and excited to, finally lace it up and hit some pads and have the scoreboard on and go. So, talk to me a little bit about the season. We got your first scrimmage game comes up this Friday night.
First full scrimmage, it's against Stevenson. It's at Parkview. And yeah, that's a great test for us, of course, on the field and what we do X's and O's, but are the things that we've been doing since March, are they going to show up on the field on Friday against Stevenson?
Hmm.
The ways we go about things, how we handle our pregame, how we handle our sideline, how we handle our preparation for that game. We're seeing this week if what we've been doing since March is going to play out the way we want it to. Just all the things around the game, how we get
Yeah.
ready and that kind of thing. So that's going to be really fun to see. I mean, all evidence points to we're going to get out there and be ready to go.
Given the fact that this is a kind of, I don't want to say use the term turnaround year, but we've got new people in place, new coaching staff in place. Yeah, how does the expectations on a season like this differ from maybe a team who is already established, who's been kind of in place for several years, who already has proven success? How would this season and the expectations differ from that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I don't really know, and the reason is just because I think in order to be to work successfully as a staff and as a program, the expectations have to be internal to you. So a lot of expectations are external. You did this last year, you made a change now, so what will that result in next year or this coming year?
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's the right question to ask because there's a lot of stuff that's still out of your control.
Hmm.
But expectation wise, internally, we don't have expectations in terms of results, right? What does Clack always say his the goal for the season is, right?
As many games as you can.
Play as many games as possible. So that's really the expectation. And it's fluid, right? And so one of the big things is if we were to go out there and set a goal and you don't reach that goal, where are you now? Right?
Hmm.
If you have that tangible, concrete, we're going to beat this team by X, or we're going to have, whatever record. Well, if you don't get that, were you successful or unsuccessful? I mean, the scoreboard alone doesn't tell you whether you're a successful program. Obviously,
Right.
you can win football games. So to me, the expectation is that we go out every single week, Sunday through Friday night, and we work our process to the most effect that we can, to the best
Hmm.
effect we can. That's the expectation. We're gonna have dips. We're gonna have peaks and valleys. But if the expectation is that we show up every week and do the things we need to do, then all of that will take care of itself.
Is there a game kind of on the schedule that you're looking at that you've got circled that you go, this is the game, that's going to tell us who we are?
Probably game one. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we've got we scrimmage Stevenson this week, and then we kick off our season next week, next Friday against North Paulding at North Paulding. Very strong team. And it's a long way away. So our first game as this current iteration of the program is a very tough game on the road. An hour and a half to 2 hours away. I'm not so concerned with what the scoreboard test.
Hmm.
What I really want to see is can we go out there and show what we've done since March,
Hmm.
right? Whether that's where we ultimately want to be or not, can we show that we've done that?
Hmm.
Which will then give us confidence going into the next game. So yeah, game one. I mean, the game one's is it. And again,
Yeah.
it's not even so much about a win and a loss. It's
Yeah, yeah,
how.
and that's what it's been building up to, right? That's what this excitement and this, months and months of preparation and the amount of work that you guys have put in, both, on the field, inside the early morning trainings, the late night practices, the middle school camps, all that kind of stuff. It all is building up to this one big game. And gosh, I don't know. I wonder sometimes, is there pressure on that game? I mean, does the team feel like, to the coaching staff, do they feel like this is I know that you don't really talk about, Clark doesn't like talking about wins and losses, but do they feel like this is a one that, regardless what the scoreboard is, I mean, we got to come out there and look and feel like we won this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, because if you're outside looking in, and there's just been the step change in how the program is operated going back to last March, and you go out on game one and you put a loss up, was that a successful game or was it not? I don't think that loss tells you yes or no. By the way, I don't believe we're going to lose the game, but you never know what can happen. And so, should we predicate our evaluation of success versus non-success on one single game, a win or a loss? I would say no. You talk about pressure. Personally, I don't feel any pressure on that game, because I know that there are a lot of things that I personally, or we as a program, don't have control over in that game. The pressure to me is, are we doing the things that we do have control over? So I'm not really thinking about the scoreboard at the end of the game. Yes.
Hmm.
And I can't speak to the rest of the staff. It seems like we're kind of all on the same page with that. That's a concept that's so far into the future that I can't even think about right now. All I can think about right now is, can I get my unit doing what they need to do today? Then can I do that
Hmm.
again tomorrow? Do it again the
Yeah.
next.
So tell me, what does the preparation look like? What does your average week look like heading into both the scrimmage game this week as well as the first game of the season?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing on prepping for, during game week is you got to flush the last game. Play on Friday. By Sunday, we want to flush that out. So obviously, we want to go through and evaluate what we did on the field and look at the tape and mark it up and make our corrections there. But you have to flush that out. You cannot be caught on Monday thinking about the previous Friday, because then what are you not thinking about the next
Hmm.
Friday, right?
Hmm.
So we're going to flush that out, and then it's just a matter of let's game plan for this week. And so I don't think that we do anything unique in that. Obviously, we're going to go through. We're going to watch our opponents, and we're going to come up with who are their guys. Who do they try and get the ball to? Again, I'm looking at it from the defensive side. So who are they trying to get the ball to? Where is that player's help? Who is their who's the next best guy they try and get the ball to? And then we're going to look at, what do they like to do best? What's their personality? What do they try and stay away from? Like, where are their weaknesses? And then that all comes together, and we bounce that up against what we do well and not so well. And then we start to kind of massage those pieces together until we have a preliminary game plan. And then, we need to challenge that game plan and kind of open it up to, here's what we think. Here's what we're theorizing for this game plan, but let's poke holes in it. So then we really want to get that tightened up. And then it's just a matter of scheduling your week and constructing your practices around that game plan. So what
Hmm.
do we need to do to execute that game plan? Do we need to run, a front that maybe we haven't looked at since April? Well, we should probably devote more time for that throughout the week.
Hmm.
And then the biggest thing is our personnel. So constantly evaluating personnel. Who's doing the job? Who's ready to do another job? Who maybe needs to take a step back and
Hmm.
work to make their way back up to that spot that they were in. So always evaluating that. And then we combine our practice plan with our personnel plan, and what we've how we've tweaked that. And then we've got to build in in a very prescriptive way, how we're going to practice. So for example, we might do a practice period where we have offensive emphasis. So offense gets their best 11, and on the other side, the defense will defend that with the best 11 that they've got on the field at the time. Back to back with that, we're running a second huddle going the other way on the field, and this is probably more the younger guys, right? So
Hmm.
those are the ones and the twos. Then we get into the threes and fours. So we're running two team periods back to back at a very, very high tempo. Now, when we blow the whistle and move to a different team period, all those players need to know where they need to go. Right. And so there's a lot of mapping to our roster personnel org and our practice plan. And then we have to communicate that. So, we're not losing time during practice calling out 100 different names and 100 different directions. So really, it really comes down to organization. We have to
Yeah.
organize to be as efficient as possible during game week.
You know, and I was going to ask you about that because you said you're assistant linebacker coach and coach defense on the freshman team. How do you balance both of those? How do you get time with both both JV varsity as well as the freshman team?
Yeah, well, again, this kind of goes back to how we put practice together. We have and Coach Clack will talk about this. We talked about the two position system and some tweaks and variations of that. So he's really good at sort of being in tune to getting the right players in the right spot during practice. But if you think about, and you said freshman, but we are JV, so we don't have a freshman standalone freshman team this season. But we're running the same stuff. And the way we run practice is, we have players who may have a defensive position as their secondary position, primary offense. Well, we have periods a few times through the week where we get those secondary players, right? So if that primary position is a running back, I'm still going to get to see that kid 2 or 3 times a week for a period at linebacker. And we're running the same stuff. So like on the JV side, when we're getting ready for a game, obviously, we're going to scale it back a little bit. We might not run some of the, complex split field coverage type stuff, but we're running our same base. We're running our same stunts, and that kind of thing. So it's really not it doesn't take any additional effort, JV versus varsity, because we are all together. We don't carve out separately.
Mm. So talk to me a little about let's shift over and let's talk more about the culture side of things. All right. And let's talk about the Brotherhood, effort, toughness. We've been talking about that. It's now, been in place now for what, about 7 months almost?
Mm-hmm.
What does the buy-in look like from a coaching staff?
It's been phenomenal. You hear our staff, we speak in that language. And I think that's something really, really important. We can put signs up on the wall and we can wrap the lockers and put bulletin board stuff up talking about that. But unless it's something that's part of our just daily default language, you're not going to get kind of buy-in and adoption of it. And so I've been just thrilled with the way we as a staff have kind of coalesced on bet and what that means. And the other great thing about it is you can, if you want to use bet as your core values as the filter through which everything in the program goes through. And if it makes it through that filter, then it's good. If it doesn't, then that's fine. Discard it. Right. But what bet does, and the way Coach has laid it out, is it almost gives us like a scorecard. Like you can look down the elements of Brotherhood, the elements of effort, the elements of toughness, competitive toughness, and you can see, okay, this is where we have gaps. I know we're not good at this piece. We're really, really good at this piece, right? And so then that kind of gives you a guide to what do you need to work on with your team culture wise.
That's good. That's good stuff. And so, where right now, where do you feel like you guys are excelling in bet?
Definitely Brotherhood. It's a tight team. I haven't, and I'm not with them 24 hours a day. I see them, several hours on the field and in the meeting room. I don't see any clicks on the team, at least glaring, which is, that's always kind of the first worry is, where are the subgroups on this team, and are those going to be a problem? We don't have that problem. They're there for each other. They understand what it means to be a part of a team and to serve the team, sometimes at the expense of yourself. And we see that a lot.
Yeah. That servant mindset that's coming out, right? You're putting others first. It's going to be really interesting because now as you're transitioning out of, all the training and you're starting to get into position specific roles, right? And where they sit on the depth chart, that's going to be the real test of Brotherhood. And you guys have got the building blocks. You have the building blocks and you're building everything on the right foundation. It's just that's always where the rubber meets the road. When those, when playing time is affected, positive or negative, that's when we start to see really get to see the Brotherhood being tested.
Yeah, for sure. And we're having those conversations this week and next. We're sitting down with every single player is sitting down with their position coach, and we're talking about, what do you see your current role as? What do I see your current role as? What do you want your future role to be? And what can I provide to you to help you get there? And so we're talking about that. And so look, when the game time depth chart comes out, it should be no surprise to anyone. One, because we've had the conversations, but even absent those conversations, kids are smart. At this point, they're starting to figure out who's going where during our practice periods, and they can start putting those pieces together that He's over, those 3 linebackers are over there. That's where I want to be. I'm not there yet.
Well, I think the big thing there is the communication, right? It's the communication with the players. It's sitting down, it's talking to them, so it's not a surprise to them, right? And also talking about what they need to do in order to take that next step. Or if you're in a role and you're taking a step back, what you're doing or where you're falling short and why, why this move is a good move for you at this time to help you get back to where you need to be. Communication's key and all of that.
You have to do that, but you can't tell a kid you're not on the varsity depth chart and then just walk away. You
Mm-hmm.
have to give them a path to get there. And that's
Yeah.
your job as a coach is to prepare a team, but to help these individual players get to where they want to be, help them be successful, whatever their goals are. And a lot of times I see this mistake, which is, sure, we're gonna identify where your gap is, and I'm gonna give you, ways that you can fill that gap. But then I walk away and maybe I check back with you in 8 months. I mean, it needs to be a daily thing. If you
Mm-hmm.
give a player a path to what they want, then you owe it to them to make sure they're on that path, or at least to help keep them on that path. Now, of course, 90% of it's got to come from them.
Yeah.
They're not willing to do it. They're not willing to do it. But if they are,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be there to support them and push them along the way and give them more guidance so they can get to that goal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome stuff. A couple more minutes here. I just want to end with some lighter stuff. So it's been a lot of work, but what's been the your funnest memory so far of kind of this preseason training time period?
Yeah. I mean, I think generally just my favorite part has been being with the players and the staff. Talked about this before. It was you're a little nervous going in. You don't know how the players and the staff that are there are going to kind of what kind of receptiveness they're going to have to what we're doing. So, but just going in every single day and seeing everybody facing the right direction and wanting to get better. That's been my favorite part. Specifically, though, I would say we went to, I think it was in June, we went to a 7-on-7 camp. We took our team to a 7-on-7 camp at Georgia Tech. It was
Hmm.
a tournament, and I think we ended up playing maybe 6 or 7 games. We made it to the semifinals, but it was my favorite discrete moment of the summer so far because it showed me two very different sides of our team. I saw a team that looked almost unbeatable at times. Of course, that was through rose-colored lenses, but they were not necessarily kind of the way they were executing the plays on the field, but just the way they carried themselves, the way they worked together, and the way they operated. I mean, it was like, wow, feels like we've been doing this for years. Turn around the next 2 games, the opposite of that. We had a couple of busted plays, and that's when you start seeing heads go down. And then we saw, I mean, it was clear as day. We saw the direct impact. Heads go down, we lose the game. I mean,
Hmm.
it just kind of impacts how we play. So the reason that's my favorite moment is, one, it showed me that it illuminated what we need to work on, just culturally, and how we operate, and how we approach the field mentally. Which anytime you get that kind of feedback, just direct, my eyes tell me we need to work on this. That's gold, right? Because you not have to guess what you have to work on. You see it with your eyes.
Hmm.
And so coming off of that, we had a lot of talks with the team about that, what we saw. And they acknowledged that, and they saw it too. I guarantee you, if we were to go play that 7-on-7 tournament again this week, we would not see the same thing, like the ups and the peaks and the valleys, the ups and the
Hmm.
downs. What you want to see is consistency.
Yep. As we wrap up here, what are you looking forward to most this upcoming season?
Game one,
Game one.
game
We
one,
talked
man.
about the circled one, the one that everything's riding on.
Yeah, and you know what? As soon as the whistle blows on game one, guess which game is circled next?
Game two.
Game two. Yeah,
Game two, which by the way is a big one because it's against West Forsyth. So I think Clack might be looking forward to that one some.
history there. Yeah, little history.
Little history on
Yeah,
that one.
it's just getting out on the field and see. I'm so excited to see these players take the field, get on the sideline. They look great in their uniforms. Just had pictures
Yep.
last week, and to see
Yeah, I
them get
saw that.
out
Looks
there
good.
and to see their work pay off. And one and in any shape or form that payoff is, there's going to be a payoff. And
Hmm.
this is, we put in so much work, and I want it to pay off for them.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It will. I mean, at the end of the day, whether or not it's a win or a loss, it will, because I can see firsthand the impact that the coaches are already having on these kids. Like I said, I can see from the attitude. We can see from the brotherhood that it's going to be. Look, there's going to be ups and downs. there is in everything. There's going to be ups and downs in the season. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be highs, and there's going to be lows. Perseverance is critical, no matter what level or where you're playing. Perseverance is critical. And so building the foundation that you guys have built with Brotherhood, effort, toughness, the commitment that you guys have had nonstop, you're doing all the right things to be examples of that perseverance, be example of that extreme ownership, which is going to end up being a good thing for these kids, whether they recognize it this year or 10 years down the road. And that's, to me, that's the best part about coaching, is the impact that you have long term. It's not just about, the game we play. It's developing men of character, which you guys are in the process of doing. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's awesome. The field looks good also. I mean, you said the uniforms look good, but the field looks good. That brand new LED board out there, I'm excited, man. When the lights are going to be on, it's going to be fun to watch this team all season long. And you're doing something that very few people get an opportunity to do. You're playing high school football and coaching high school football. And that is awesome. So Coach Mash, thank you for your time. I'm going to let you get going. And coaches, we'll see you out in the field. Have a good one.
Great. Thank you, Tad.
What's up, coaches? This is Coach Tad. If you like today's podcast and any of the content we put out there, I invite you to visit us on YouTube at the AC Academy, on Instagram at Adam Clack Football, and on X at @the_ACFA. There you can watch all the content and even more for free. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the field.